Portland's public safety bureaus are facing the largest proposed budget cuts in recent years.
You know, I am kind of one of those anti-police, but now that I live in Portland with more crime, I feel like we need more police response and faster times. We need more police presence.
I don't think it's a good idea to cut law enforcement right now. We've had a lot of cutting, and the police are underfunded. They don't do everything right, obviously. We need to make sure that they perform professionally, but we do need to give them resources.
The city of Portland is seeing a record $163 million budget shortfall. Mayor Keith Wilson released his proposal on how to fill that last week.
I've done my utmost to set up my colleagues for success and to blunt the impact of our most painful cuts.
Mayor Wilson is proposing a more than $17 million cut to the Portland Police Bureau. Chief Bob Day warned late last week about the potential impact on the community.
This organization is incredibly thin to begin with. Every cut we make is a cut to the bone. There is no fat left on it. Everything we have is critical, and any changes we make will reduce services.
The proposed cuts include a reduction in police training, patrol vehicles, and technology. The team responding to lower-level calls like stolen vehicles, missing persons, and minor traffic collisions would also be slashed by 80%, eliminating 34 full-time positions.
Which means those lower priority calls will likely go unanswered for an extended period of time.
Cuts could also be coming to police overtime hours, administrative staff, and the victim services unit.
I'm not happy about it. I don't like it. I've been through the 5 stages of grief about 48 times in the last week.
The mayor is also proposing a more than $4 million cut to the Fire Bureau, scaling back available firefighters and fire engines, 911 dispatch staff, and a cut to the Bureau's overdose response team. In a statement, a spokesperson for Portland Fire and Rescue tells KGW in part, "We anticipate that the recommended cuts to fire will impact service, including longer response times, and our ability to manage simultaneous incidents."
The strongest cities are forged not by limitless abundance, but by the decisive moments when facing the deepest challenges and threats.
Okay, in the mayor's budget, no sworn staff at the police bureau will lose their jobs and no fire stations will close. But both bureaus argue they're already understaffed as is, so cuts will only make things worse. And again, this is all just a proposal at this point. City councilors will spend the next several weeks debating and making changes to the mayor's budget before adopting a final budget in June. But we are hearing from one city councilor tonight, Councilor Samir Kanal, who only commented on the proposed cuts to the Fire Bureau's overdose response team, saying in part, "We have more work to do to avoid these kinds of cuts that may save money this budget cycle, but which end up costing us more in the long run." Okay, joining me now live in studio is the president of the Portland Firefighters Association, Isaac McLennan, and the president of the Portland Police Association, Aaron Schmautz. Those are the unions representing first responders. Thank you both for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Okay, so let's start with, you both knew that cuts were coming. So what in the mayor's proposal caught you off guard, if anything? Aaron, we'll start with you.
The public safety system is pretty woven together. We have a lot of different parts, and we've built out a lot of systems to have responders who can get there quickly while we've had not enough police officers. The 80% cut to our PS3 program is devastating, and it will impact crime victims in a very personal way.
And what is the PS3 program?
So the Public Safety Support Specialists, they're unarmed responders. It was a program built about 5-6 years ago, and they respond to primarily stolen car reports. And we've really worked really hard to bring those numbers down, but it was really very impactful on our community.
So you were not expecting at all an 80% cut to that?
No, I mean, it eviscerates the program. And again, that work now has to be done by someone else. The work doesn't just go away. And so trying to figure out how we're going to navigate, I mean, you can imagine a mother waking up in the morning to take her kids to school, go to work, and her car's gone. Now, instead of waiting, 45 minutes for someone to show up, help you start getting on your way, you may be waiting a day or two before you can even get a police report written.
And Isaac, what, if anything, caught you off guard about the proposed cuts to the Fire Bureau?
Well, fundamentally, I feel like a bedrock core principle of any city is to serve the public and protect public safety overall. So the fact that we're looking at any proposed cuts to public safety in general was pretty alarming to me. And as a firefighter for 23 years in the city of Portland, I understand the value of having a well-staffed, well-trained department, and the notion that we're going to reduce the number of firefighters in the city of Portland is just simply dangerous, and it's something that the voters didn't vote for.
Mm-hmm. So the city is facing, as we know, a record $163 million budget shortfall. So cuts have to be made somewhere. If you're arguing that, police and fire shouldn't take these kinds of hits, where specifically should the city make cuts instead? Isaac, we'll start with you.
Yeah, and that's a great question. And I think that it's one that I think we'll, as we go through this next month in City Council, we certainly will see what these proposals come up and where money can be found. But fundamentally, cuts to public safety, cuts to firefighters, they just don't make sense. Why that even was proposed in the first place is just frustrating. So let's figure out, let's get creative. And there's always, it seems like every time you turn on the TV, there's money that can be found. And so what I don't want is people's safety to be at risk when we can be creative in other ways that don't jeopardize people's safety. So I'm not a budget expert, and I don't claim to be. I certainly will make time to talk to members of council to try to figure out how we can find ways to fund the fire and police and public safety overall. But I don't have the specific answer.
Aaron, what program, if any, would you cut instead of Portland police cuts?
Well, with the formation of this new form of government, we've seen a significant increase in management and kind of bloat at the place where the community is not touching. I think we need to look at the expenditures for the non-public facing work that's being done. I mean, frankly, the worker bees that in our city are the ones out there interacting with community every day. And so to me, you have to fund the people and the programs that interact with public and keep us safe. And then once you've funded that, look at other options. The other piece is I'm quite aware that there are several systems in place that are funded programs that aren't even yet stood up. And we also saw during all the COVID funding time, there were a lot of one-time dollars that were programs that were set up that were designed to sunset, and they just simply weren't. And that should not be funding that's cut from public safety.
And Aaron, for Portlanders who are already frustrated with slow police response times, what does this proposal mean for them?
So again, in real time, you look at, dispatch, who we represent, they're cutting overtime, 50% of their overtime for the floor. So you could see a reduction in dispatchers working on the floor, which will lead to a longer call. And then you're looking at reductions in patrol facing overtime, which means less officers. And we're already 48th to 50th in the country. We are running under minimums every day. So you'll have a slower call response and then a slower actual physical response. And the reduction of the PS3, the Public Safety Support Specialist program, will mean that now it will have to be a police officer responding likely, which again, we're always on priority calls. And so it could literally be several days before a police officer is available to respond to a crime victim who may be someone who has the very first time they've ever been a victim. And even worse, now you're seeing the shuttering of both East and North Precinct, those precincts for response for communities. So again, in this new form of government, we promise to our community, you'll have access, but now everyone has to find a way downtown. And TriMet's also cutting their routes, and so it's going to be harder to get downtown.
And Isaac, Portland Fire faces losing an engine company and shifting 10 firefighters off the front lines. What does that look like on the ground? What is the impact of that? I mean, when we hear 10 firefighters just shifting roles, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but what is the significance of that?
Yeah, it's actually a very significant number. There's 171 firefighters on duty across 31 stations in the city of Portland. And there's the 3 rescues that are currently stationed. There's Station 11, which is in Lentz, Station 19 in Montevilla, and then Station 31 on the border of Gresham out in Rockwood. Those are there for response reliability. And so when a call comes in, one unit goes, another call comes in that same area, a second unit can go. If that unit's not there, that means a neighboring station from farther away has to respond to that emergency. That's a really key component. So we don't know when emergencies happen, and this proposal really is dangerous because it's simply looking at statistics, saying, well, statistically, it's more common that an incident would happen during the day. When we know fires happen at night, we know car accidents happen in the middle of the night. And here's breaking news for you. Today, I just learned the fire chief visited Station 22 in St. John's and let them know that it was their fire engine that will get cut. That's a devastating blow because, as you may know, that St. John's neighborhood in the far north end is kind of isolated. It also serves the communities around there, the Cathedral Park neighborhood, Linton neighborhood, not to mention the neighborhood to the down by Portland State, Portland State University, University of Portland. So it's a devastating blow. I know for a fact that neighborhood loves their St. John's Fire Department, as they commonly call it, but Station 22 to us, and it's been a bedrock place that really has fundamentally been a kind of a focus point for the neighborhood there. And so I think when they learn that their fire engine is closing because of these dangerous cuts, they're going to be pretty upset and a little bit scared.
Let's talk about the strain this could have on first responders who will be asked to do more with less. At what point does that become a safety issue for crews that may face burnout and make mistakes because of it? Aaron, let's start with you.
I think it's both. It is morally difficult and emotionally difficult to always be on high stress calls, but it also damages the relationships you can build by having non-crisis interactions with the public. And also, from an accountability standpoint, by cutting training and the kinds of community building that we can do, this is where it just builds this kind of like, all you're ever doing is just facing the highest level of crisis. It leads to PTSD, and it leads to, again, like you said, burnout. Officers are going to have to work more overtime, and if that gets cut, then now we have safety issues. The only city employees, we had 4 in the last year who were the victims of attempted murder, are Portland police officers. Our officers face significant violence. We had 2 officers shot 2 months ago. It is an incredibly dangerous job, and they need to be able to have respite. And when we have less police officers working, you have less people available, it just becomes more and more dangerous.
And Isaac, from the Portland fire side of this, have you already seen mistakes or close calls tied to staffing fatigue?
Well, let's just go back the last 25 years, okay? So in the last 25 years, we've had the same number of fire stations, the same number of firefighters. In that same period of time, we've seen population increase. We've seen the number of calls go up significantly. We were doing 50,000 calls for service 25 years ago. Now it's closer to 90,000 calls with the same number of firefighters. So what this is, that burnout is real. When you're asked to do more and you're stretched thinner and thinner, that has a dramatic impact to firefighters and our ability to protect life and property. So in this situation, when you're actually looking to reduce the number of firefighters on duty, that makes it even more inherently dangerous. Not only just on a fire, because we know that fires double in size every minute. We know the chances for cardiac arrest go down significantly after 5 minutes. If we're not there, we're not going to make a difference, and we only get one chance to save a life. So the fact of the matter is, firefighters want nothing more than to just do our job. When we get called, when somebody calls 911 and they're in need of help, we just want to be there. So it's hard and it's frustrating to our firefighters that work in the city of Portland, not only just the job itself, but just the fact that they don't feel that the city's behind them in their mission to protect life and property.
Right, seconds matter, they're life and death in many cases. Okay, last question here. In one sentence, what should people take away if these cuts go through? Aaron, we'll start with you.
I think please call your city officials and tell them how important it is to have a relationship with your police officers, because we deeply want to be in relationship with community.
And one sentence from the Fire Bureau?
Don't cut our fire trucks. Let your city councilor know that your city matters and that your firefighters matter and that your life matters.
Okay, thank you both so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. All right, but now we want to hear from you. What do you think about proposed cuts to public safety? Did anything that you hear tonight stand out to you? Let us know. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090.